It's amazing. It's like a celery.
No,
She literally gets thinner while she drinks.
We're here today with someone who has the distinct honor of potentially being the first and probably the last
We're done after this.
cis, white, straight guy. Give it up. Woo, woo, woo. We're done after this.
Those are a lot of assumptions.
You inspired them.
We know about you.
We got Andy Rieger here today. Lucky to have him. I don't know anything about him. I had a drink with his wife, and you're a friend. Like, I consider you a friend. I had to have drinks with his wife because I didn't know anything about my friend Andy. But he's joining us today because
We're gonna all get to know more. Who is Andy Rieger? ? Dun dun dun.
Kansas City's
What do you find
international
out?
man of mystery.
I need to know.
Okay.
Yeah, what are we drinking today?
I would love a Southside if you can make one.
Okay.
Ooh, you do know what a
Southside!
Starting Opa,
Cheers.
and then we do this.
Thank you
we
for being
learn,
here.
Knock out the spirits.
Bad demon. Cheers. This is good.
This is good.
Super simple.
Welcome, Andy, to Behind the Bar. First question is just kind of why you decided to do Rieger.
So the whole story goes back to 1887. My triple great-grandfather came over from the Austro-Hungarian Empire and settled in Kansas City, then started a distillery called J. Rieger Co. down in the West Bottoms. 1915 rolls around. They opened up a hotel at the corner of 20th and Main Street, so when everyone would come across the Main Street Bridge, when they would come to Kansas City for the first time, they would see this 3-story mural of a Rieger whiskey bottle, so that they would associate Kansas City as being J. Rieger Co. and J. Rieger
They even
Co.
had the
being
mural,
Kansas City.
that mural was up.
Yeah, so that's an original mural. So 4 years later, Prohibition hits, gone dead, they got into a totally different industry, completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
In 2010, I had a pretty dramatic life event. I was living in Dallas working for an investment bank at the time. My dad was diagnosed with cancer and died 9 weeks later.
Wow. Holy shit.
So it was a really rough year for me in general. And so that winter, I came back home and a restaurant had just opened in the historic Rieger Hotel. And one of the things that I had my dad do before he passed away was I taught him how to use his Mac for recording videos. And I said I wanted him to record as many videos on anything he wanted to get across to me that I promised I wouldn't watch until he passed away. Wow. And
I have goosebumps literally all over
And
my
so,
That's insane.
So when he died, I spent all night just watching these videos that he had just recorded of him sitting in his chair with his Mac just facing him about a variety of topics. So long story short, one of those videos was him saying, you know, there was an article in the newspaper that came out, I believe in July of 2010, about this guy who was the up-and-coming top bartender in the city, was partnering up with this guy who was one of the up-and-coming top chefs in the city, and they were gonna start a restaurant and bar concept, the Rieger Manifesto, in the old historic Rieger Hotel. And in his video, he said, you know, if I'm not around for this opening, you have to go just give them support. So it was my mission.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So when 2010 December rolled around and I came back, I went to Manifesto for the first time. The gentleman who was the bartender, Ryan Mabey, he came up to me that night and he was just like, you know all about the distillery, don't you? And I go, of course. And he goes, someday we should bring that back. And that was all we talked about. Long gone, forgot about. I was in Dallas having a great time, working in the job I wanted to work in. And so a year later, we met again, talked about it. He threw out the idea again. I said I would help him figure out his business plan, but wanted no involvement. And so from that, I just started helping him. Well, as I started helping him, I started doing more and more. And there was one day in 2013 in that summer, we were sitting in my apartment with my then girlfriend, now wife, and she said, remember how your dad told you never move back to Kansas City unless you have a legitimate reason, and only you will know when that legitimate reason exists.
Again with your dad and the
I know.
goosebumps.
I'm pretty confident that if your dad was here today, he would say, this is the reason why you should move back to Kansas City.
Way to go, Lucy!
So from that, sort of switched my mentality in that summer of 2013. In April of 2014, moved to Kansas City with Lucy. And we started more or less running the business, and Ryan kept running the bar, and then he came over in 2018 full time. Built up from there, did a huge expansion in 2019, and it was perfect timing to create this massive, first of its kind adult drinking social Disneyland
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Because we had COVID that just came up 6 months in, and
Fuck COVID.
we were screwed.
Ruined our lives, yeah.
Whoa.
So that was a really tough element,
was
but
horrible.
you had two options. Fire everybody, and the other one was try to figure it out in
Pivot.
some way or some form.
Pivot.
And so my wife actually received a phone call from a local nursing home here in Kansas City a couple days into the pandemic that said, we are completely out of everything. We saw that there is a distillery in Seattle making hand sanitizer. You know, would you guys be willing to make some for us? All these big manufacturers of hand sanitizer, they weren't bringing any more to the marketplace anytime soon.
Yeah.
And so an opportunity existed that if you really took the bull by the horns and you decided to really move forward with it, then you could actually not just save the business, but you could actually do a hell of a lot of good.
Yeah.
And so I had a meeting with every single person that was either a direct report or a near direct report in our boardroom. And I said, if we're gonna do this, I need complete buy-in from every single one of you. I'm gonna let each of you say if you agree, if you don't, and going around the room, every single person said yes.
Let's do it.
Awesome.
And so what we then discovered once we got into it for real, I mean, we were receiving 2 or 3 trucks of ingredients a day.
Yeah.
Bottles, pumps, cardboard boxes. One of our days we had a 4-hour-long line. 16 police officers, police helicopters, roads shut down. It was a truly weird, bizarre thing that the city was like, this is the most important thing we've got going on right now. Even so much, I got a police escort to go get more glycerin at one point with 3 police cars to then bring it back so that it could continue moving forward. It's a cool video I have on my phone. We had the one thing that society needed at that moment in time.
A good show involves 3 full goosebump body things. I'm gonna hit you with our speed round questions. Now this is a very
Take a deep breath. Off the top.
Just take a deep breath.
First,
Maybe take a
top
drink.
of mind.
Take
Top
a
of
drink,
mind.
take a drink.
Wet that whistle.
Let's do it. Okay, here we go.
Fresh bottle.
Speed round with Andy Rieger. Thank you for being here again before I make you uncomfortable.
Is that a question?
No. Who's your celebrity lookalike?
I always get Property Brothers.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely.
It brings me back
but
to
you're
work.
more handsome than they
I
are.
appreciate it, thank you.
What is Kansas City's best kept secret? From Hailee, question go.
Kansas City's best kept secret is Kansas City.
Oh.
Some of our restaurants, some of our experiences that we offer here in Kansas City go beyond or at bare minimum match New York City,
I agree.
LA.
I agree. What's the best bottle of alcohol Rieger has ever made?
Our bourbon that is in our 6-year bottled and bond, as of right now, it's in the top 3 for best bourbons in the world.
Wow.
In the San Francisco Spirits Competition, which most small brands don't ever get that
I didn't know
honor.
this.
And so this is something that, like, if we're able to win this, which we find out in June, it will
Then
make
you on the
it'll
map.
make a lot of big people
a
angry.
bourbon party.
Yeah. Which of your sons did your wife say is a version
Most
of you?
like you.
Oh, Hogan.
Yeah, it was, and she said it just like that.
Hogan.
What's your astrological sign?
Literally said, we separately thought of this question because we knew you would not know.
Right, and we just are like,
We wanna ask him this.
We need to look
Virgo.
that up.
I think he's a
We
Virgo.
need a
Or a
thing.
Taurus.
What is Andy Rieger?
My birthday is May 21.
Okay, you're a Taurus. Oh my God, we're celebrating your birthday too.
It's on my pants.
Hell yeah.
It's on my pants
Okay,
right
this is a
now.
legitimate question, which I do have the answer for. What do you think your wife's favorite thing is about you?
Oh my God. This is the biggest trap question actually out of all of them that you have asked. My wife's favorite thing about me is I'm just a good person and I'm not a total asshole.
That's not at all what she said.
Not at all.
She said it's that you don't play golf because it's not an effective thing to do with your time.
This is true. Now that I know that that's all that my wife cares, I'll be getting divorced, so
Sorry, Lucy.
we all want to roommate together, just let me know.
We'll just bourbon it up.
She
is
did
great.
She did, like, really, in her defense, authentically was like, he is just my favorite person. I love him
Yeah,
so much.
he's so cool and he's so weird, she kept saying.
She loves you.
See, I totally agree with those.
And lastly, but not least, if you were a drink, what would you be and why?
I would probably be an old-fashioned because you know what you're gonna get, it's gonna be great, but it's just boring as shit, but still it's that thing that you're like, hell yeah.
Your go-to guy.
It's sophisticated, but
is.
it's just boring.
Classic,
And it's
sophisticated,
like,
classic,
you know you're gonna
always
get the good
delivers.
thing. Yeah.
We're gonna work on some ways to love yourself
Appreciate that.
in the next episode.
You know what? I need that.
Thank you for being here.
Cheers. It's been so great to get to know you a bit
Opa.
better. Opa. Cheers. Sips.
I am literally smashed. I'm telling you, I was on this cleanse. And
She also said his bone broth.
I was on this cleanse. I've only had
I was
bone
like, what's
broth.
wrong with you? Why are you drunk right now? She's
So
like, I've
much
only had bone
liquid
broth.
and now.